Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode, and I'm so excited because this week we have a special guest that has lost over 30 pounds using the principles in the Waste Away diet and through intermittent fasting. So Heather Roemmich, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your journey.
Okay. Well, I am a mother of two and a wife, and I work a good amount. And so one of the things I struggled with in my health is I found myself eating emotionally and when I got stressed. And also I was eating unhealthy, like fast food all the time because I was busy. And so I was a yo-yo dieter. Like I tried any and everything that was on the front of a magazine that looked like I could lose weight fast. And I'm just really excited with this. This plan has just fit into my lifestyle really, really well.
And so what kind of window do you do? What is your window?
So I do Monday through Friday, I do a 2-hour window. And I find that's easiest because I'm working, so I'm busy, and I don't necessarily eat lunch. So I do my window for dinner, and I do that because then I can be with my kids when I eat. And then on the weekends, I do typically a 6-hour window where I will eat like lunch and dinner with my family. I don't eat breakfast ever. And but sometimes on the weekends, like if I've had a big lunch or I'm going to have a big dinner, I may not eat but that one big meal a day. But Monday through Friday, I'm pretty strict on just a one meal a day type of thing.
Okay. And do you have any snacks or anything or no?
Not usually.
And what kind of, and that was hard for you in the beginning, right?
Yes, I was a snacker.
So you didn't just go, boom, I'm going to do that. So talk about kind of that transition that you did.
Yeah. So
talk about that for a minute.
So I originally, when I first started doing the intermittent fasting, which I was very hesitant to do because I thought that I needed to eat all the time. I was really concerned that I wasn't going to be eating for, yes, like that was a big thing for me. So when I first started, I would probably do, like I started in an 8-hour window and then I moved it to a 6-hour window. And I wasn't consistent with my windows. So I lost some weight, but I wasn't losing a lot. And so I had a good heart-to-heart conversation with a friend, and they said that I really, really needed to commit to picking a window and sticking to it. Because I was like, well, it depends on the day. Like some days I feel like a 6-hour window, some days I feel like an 8-hour window. And that was my struggle when I first came on. And
the other thing that people have to realize is that it's not just the eating window. Because like when people say to me, well, tell me what your book is about. And I go, well, I would literally have to spend an hour and a half explaining to you all of it because it's not just intermittent fasting because you can do intermittent fasting and not lose weight because you're still overeating. And so there's lots of other principles. Out of the other principles, which one of the ones in the book that you feel like you've really taken ownership of and that it's helped you?
Yeah. So one, waiting till your stomach growls. I realized that I was eating when I was not hungry. That was the biggest eye opener to me. You know, I say that everyone's addicted to something, and I was totally addicted to food. And I was eating when I was not hungry. And when I really, really started following the principles, that was the biggest eye-opening thing to me because I could go and my stomach wouldn't growl till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would have already eaten a snack, a large lunch, another snack, and I wasn't even hungry yet. So that was the waiting till your stomach growls was a huge, huge eye-opener for me. And I live by that. And I will sometimes be sitting at somewhere and my stomach hasn't growled yet, so I won't order. I'll wait. And then like 30 minutes later, I'm like, oh, my stomach growled, now I can order. And I still try to wait an hour after my stomach growls. I try to push it as far as I can because I want to make sure I'm truly, truly hungry. Because sometimes my stomach growls and I just need to drink water. And I will drink some water.
With that, it's funny because one of the girls that I interviewed who was actually one of the contestants on the Miss Virginia, one of the things she said is when she's trying to lose more weight, she waits till her stomach growls and then she waits a couple hours after. And then she literally like feels, she's like, it's a weird feeling, but you literally feel your body like starting to eat your fat.
Yes.
And she's like, it's such a great feeling.
Yes.
It's like, that's what this is like. No one taught her this. Nobody, she just like figured it out. And these are the people that I've interviewed, thousands of women. And she's one of the ones that's what she told me. And I was like, ooh. And so now what people think before your thinking was when you're hungry, oh, that's a bad thing. And in her mind, she's like, ooh, this is great. And my body eating its fat right now. It's getting into those fat reserves. So, okay. So here's the question. Catherine in Tampa. I'm getting discouraged because I feel like I'm taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. I feel like I'm losing 2 pounds, and then I'm gaining a pound and then losing 3 pounds, then gaining 2 pounds and just constantly gaining and then losing, and then I'm gaining. It averages about to be a pound a week that I'm losing, but the up and downs are super frustrating. And yes, I'm weighing myself at the same time every day. LOL. Is there anything I should do differently? Catherine in Tampa.
Yes. Well, the first thing I would say is you shouldn't weigh yourself every day. You should only weigh yourself once a week. And that's because it can be very frustrating. Because depending on what you've eaten, you can gain water weight, and you don't want to frustrate yourself and get yourself off track. But what I would say is you have to also look at I would want to know what her eating windows are. So how consistent is she staying? It sounds like she may be either having longer windows some days and shorter others, or if she's keeping her windows consistent, she's eating too much. And she needs to really look at making sure she doesn't go over that 4.0 on her scale, because you can easily push too much. And it is important of what you're consuming in your window. You can't just eat, everything on the buffet table just because it's within 2 hours. It doesn't work that way. So she needs to look at her windows and make sure they're consistent, and she stays consistent with those. And what is she eating during those windows? And don't weigh yourself every day. Do it once a week.
Yeah. So I gave an analogy on the last podcast about this, and it was when Kristen was on our show and we were going for a walk, and the analogy was, where if I was going to walk to her house, and then here I am at my house, if I'm walking to her house, it would be like, okay, here I am walking. And if I took 2 steps back, I wouldn't go all the way back to my house, right? But that's what everyone does. They start falling backwards, and instead of moving forward to the goal, they just start going all the way backwards again. Then they go all the way back home and go, okay, now from there, let me go back to her house. That is the most ridiculous thinking. And people who are thin, they gain weight a little bit too. Sure. And then they just keep walking forward in that direction. Do you has this happened to you, or do you have any good analogies kind of like that, where you would say, I have gained a couple pounds here or there, and what was the thinking that you did to kind of bring you back to that forward momentum?
Yeah. Yes, I have those days. Like I have times where, like on a weekend, I ended up going to some birthday party at lunch that I wasn't planning on eating at, but then I got peer pressured into having a slice of pizza when I wasn't hungry. And then I get mad at myself. And then I went to dinner with my family, and I'm like, well, I'm not really hungry, but I'm going to go ahead and eat. And then you get home and you're like, I disobeyed every principle that I knew I was supposed to do. But what I have to tell myself is that's okay. Like we all have bad days, right? But I have to celebrate my wins. And my win is I've lost 30 pounds. So just because I may gain 1 pound back does not matter. Tomorrow is a new day. I always am like, tomorrow's a new day. Like, so what if I messed up today? Tomorrow, I'm going to start back over. I'm eating within my window, or I'll do a 24-hour fast. And I'll be like, okay, you had fun today. So tomorrow, you're going to do a 24-hour fast and get yourself cleaned back out so I feel good, and then head back up on track.
Yeah, and the analogy I like to say is, when I was 16 years old, I got caught shoplifting at Nordstrom's. And that was the first thing that my friend talked me into stealing, this dress that we couldn't afford that looked like $1 million. on me. And I was like, okay, we got to get it. And, from then on, I got caught and I made a vow that I was never going to steal anything again. And to this day, I can't think of anything that I've stolen, even to the point that, like, if I steal your pen, I'm going to call you and say, hey,
Yeah.
in your pen. And so the goal of this, of what you're doing when you're doing the intermittent fasting and the waste away plan, is that you would get to the point that you would never, ever, ever overeat again.
Right.
It's like almost to the point, like, Kim, wife, one of the things that she says, as I interviewed her as one of my people that I interviewed, she said, I don't like the feeling of how I feel when I overeat. So I can't even dream about doing it. She's like, I just don't do it because I don't like how I feel. And so I rather undereat than ever have that feeling of overeating. And so it's like, that's where we're all wanting to get to that point where we go, I can't even dream about overeating because it's something I can't even fathom or imagine that I'm doing it.
Right.
So, as far as it goes for this girl's question, even though you're stepping forward and then coming back and stepping forward, she's still losing a pound a week. So you have to really kind of get excited about that. One of the girls that we're doing coaching with, she only lost 1.5 pounds on one of the weeks. And she was like, I'm really discouraged. I've only lost 1.5 pounds. And truthfully, with the waste away plan, that's what we're hoping for. We're 1.5 pounds every week that you're losing. That's exactly what we want. We don't want to be losing. We do have people who lose 3 pounds, 5 pounds, but we want you to be losing about 1.5 pounds a week, because that's what's sustainable and that's what's going to really be able to continue to go on a long-term basis. So that's great. All right. So this next question comes from Jamie in Atlanta. And some of these questions that people have been giving are a little bit long, so I'm going to condense this down. She says, first, I would like to thank you for introducing me to this lifestyle. I've been overweight for the majority of my life and have tried every diet or trick you can imagine. Recently, my husband and I have been talking about trying to have a baby. Now that I'm finally at my weight loss goals, I'm terrified that I'm going to gain all the weight back as soon as I get off of intermittent fasting. Yes, of course, I anticipate gaining weight with my son. I had a difficult pregnancy and gained close to 60 pounds. Do you have any tips for this situation? I just want my hopefully baby as well as myself to be happy and healthy. Thanks for everything you do. You and Chris are great motivators and inspiration to all your listeners. Also, I should mention that I'm currently practicing OMAD, 1 meal a day. My window is typically around 5:30 to 7 p.m., depending on what's going on that day. So do you understand this question, Heather?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
when I read them, I don't understand them as well. So
I think
go ahead. What do you think she's saying?
I think what she's saying is that she's afraid once she gets pregnant, she is going to gain a bunch of weight, which I think a lot of women worry about when they become pregnant, because there's the perception that once you become pregnant, you would just want to eat everything in sight. And while I'm not a medical professional, I do believe that you can 100% practice this during your pregnancy. Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you have to eat this enormous amount of food. I think, again, you can listen to your body. Your body will tell you when you're hungry. You only eat what you truly want to eat. That follows the 80-20 principle. And don't eat past your full level. And I think that you will notice that you're not gaining all this weight that a lot of people tend to, because they think, well, I'm pregnant and I can just eat anything and everything that I want while I'm pregnant. And that's not the case. Again, if you looked at your last pregnancy and said, was I hungry when I was eating ice cream at 10 o'clock at night? Probably not. Did you have a craving for it? Yeah. I mean, we all have cravings for stuff, but you just have to have the willpower to say, am I truly hungry for this? Nope, then I don't need it.
And if I can have that ice cream once I truly get hungry.
Yes, absolutely.
If my body's physically hungry. If I want the ice cream, I can have it.
Yeah.
That's advice. I can't add anything to it.
Hey guys, I'm so excited that my new book, Waste Away, The Chantel Ray Way, is now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and pretty much anywhere you can find books. But we also have the audiobook, the ebook, and my new recipe book that you can download all the recipes that I love that I make, and it's super cheap. It's all my favorites. Anyway, if you have a minute to write a review on Amazon, I would be ever grateful.
All right, this is from Steph. Doesn't say where you're from. Always tell us if you can. She says, hello. I found your podcast by accident and I have been hooked ever since. Smiley face.
Yay.
I bought your book and it's amazing. I think I finally found a way of life I can sustain. Thank you. My question is, you have said that you can adjust your eating window. Love that flexibility, but 2 days a week I start work at 4 a.m. The other days I start at around 7. So on the days I start at 4, I'm ready to start eating before my normal window of 10 a.m. Any suggestions that you can give me? What would you say, Heather?
Well, one, even though my stomach will growl, I try to push myself. And so one suggestion would be that you could try to push yourself. Like even though you're hungry because you've been up a couple hours earlier, if you can just, typically if I can get over the hump, then I'll find out I'm not even hungry. So like my window when I get hungry is between 12 and 3 p.m. And I don't like to eat lunch. I like to eat dinner. And my stomach growls like almost every day, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on the dot. I mean, it starts to growl. Could I eat then? Yes, but my window is not till evening, so I wait. And do I want to eat sometimes? Yes, but I wait because I want to stay within my window. And
I would like to say this, like right now, you know, Heather's in a real kind of, you want to lose more weight right now.
Yes.
I've been telling her, you look so amazing. You look so amazing. And that's great. It makes you want to eat, you know, less. And so when you are really wanting to push that weight loss and wanting to lose more weight, then of course that, you know, eating that one meal a day really kind of takes you there.
Yeah.
If you go, hey, I'm okay with eating on a lower, you would still be losing weight if you did that. If you kind of ate right then at like 2 o'clock or o'clock or whatever, you'd still be losing weight. You'd just be losing it slower, right?
Right. Yes. So what I would say is try to push. If you can't push and you absolutely have to eat something, I would recommend, so you can really try to stay within your window, is just having something very, very, very small, like 10 almonds, or I'll buy these 90-calorie little packs of cottage cheese that have like 12 grams of protein in them, and it's under 100 calories, but it's enough to just get me over the edge so then I can eat within my actual window. So sometimes I use that to help get me to my window if I'm really, really, really in a crunch. But like she said, I'm still trying to lose a little bit more weight, and I'm super motivated to stay within my windows.
And I will tell you, on a lot of the women that were extraordinarily thin, like, you know, I interviewed all kinds of women, but some were just happened to be thinner than others, you know. And on the ones that were extraordinarily thin, I would say a huge bulk of them would around 1 or 2 o'clock, I would say, you know, what do you eat? Around 1 or 2, they were eating like a cottage cheese, or, you know, one of those 100-calorie pack cottage cheese, or a Greek yogurt, or kind of something with protein, you know, like celery with some peanut butter, or some kind of like high protein 100-calorie snack at around 1 or 2 o'clock. And then they were eating a dinner at like 6 o'clock. And that's what they were having, you know, coffee for breakfast. They were eating that 100 to 150 calorie high protein snack around 1 or 2 o'clock. And then they were eating a nice dinner, whatever they wanted. And I'm glad that you said that, because that, as I recall all my interviews, the ones that were extra thin were doing that on a regular basis. That's what like every day.
Mhm.
So my advice to you is that, either on, I just got back from California, and so that's a 3-hour delay, but my body kind of was still on East Coast time, you know what I mean? And I just tried to push it so that I was still eating my lunch and my dinner. But it's fine if you want to change up your windows on those different days. But if I were you, I would just try to really push. But either way will work. If you decide that you're going to push that window up a little bit, that will work too. All right. This is Jen from, she doesn't say where she's from, so I don't know where she's from. She says, can I have apple cider vinegar in my water during my fasting window? First of all, I don't know why anybody would want to have apple cider vinegar in my water. But what would you say, Heather, to that?
I would say, is there any caloric? There's no sugar in that. So I would think that it's probably fine. I do know someone personally that drinks a bottle of water and puts that in there every day because it does have a lot of fat burning and like good health benefits to it. So I would say, I don't think there's any sugars in it. I'd have to look at the...
Yeah, to me, I think it's absolutely fine to have it in your fasting window. I don't think it's going to throw you out of ketosis or out of the fasted state. Most people do mix it with water because it's really hard to just chug it, or they'll do it in a shot format. I do think it helps regulate your blood sugar. It is great for digestion. I think there's lots of great benefits. Some people have the opinion that it's just I know I've had other people on the podcast before that have said that apple cider vinegar is not, that it's just kind of like a hoax or whatever. I personally think it's great. I want to share my screen real quick with you guys. If you are seeing this, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, I just shared my screen real quick. So basically, this is kind of my opinion of kind of if you're going to be eating clean, like you should have like unsweet tea, black coffee, water, apple cider vinegar. That's all clean. I don't like diet soda just because of all the chemicals. I know some people who do drink diet soda and diet vitamin water and flavored LaCroix and that Crystal Light. I think it's okay. I can't stand all the chemicals, so I would say don't do it, but I don't think it's going to completely take you out of that fasted state, but I don't love it. And then I kind of have another level that's kind of like crutch drinks where people are like, oh my gosh, I'm about to die. I need to have coffee with like heavy cream or bone broth or coffee with unsweetened almond milk or unsweetened coconut milk, or I need some water with lemons. That's kind of like a crutch to take you to the next level. But definitely like no fruit juice or coconut water or alcohol or milk. So I have a whole bunch of these different charts. It really depends on, I change this chart depending on how long of a fast that I do. Meaning like if I'm doing a really long, I talk about like a prolonged fast or an extended fast. If I'm doing a 2-day fast or a 3-day fast, I might have water with lemon. Or I might have some coconut water just to take me, but not for intermittent fasting. That's for different purposes if I'm doing a longer fast or biblical fasting or stuff like that to kind of take me to the next level. So what is the longest amount of time that you've gone, Heather, for a fast?
48 hours.
Okay, and how is that?
I can get through like 36, 38, feeling pretty good. And then I think the more I do it, So basically, like each time I just try to push it a couple more hours. So like first I started with, just not eating, like I'd have, lunch one day and then I didn't eat till after that lunchtime the next day, right? When I did my first 24-hour fast. And I try to do it so a lot of it falls while I'm sleeping because then I'm not thinking about the food. And then each time I just try to push it a little bit longer. I was like, okay, well now I won't eat till 2 hours after that, 3 hours after that. So I've gotten up to 48 hours. It just depends. Like sometimes I feel great, especially if I'm coming off of where I maybe hadn't eaten so clean. It feels good to kind of get all of those like toxins out of your body, and I need it. But most of the time, like once you get over the initial hump, then you're not really hungry to begin with. Like if I notice there's some days I won't eat, but I'm starting like my stomach's growling 1 or 2 o'clock. If I can make it to 4, I'm not even hungry anymore. And I could go without even eating dinner because my body got past that and started eating the reserves. And then I'm not hungry anymore. And so you just have to push through those times when your stomach growls, and I drink a lot of water. And then I can make it through, and then I feel fine until the next kind of cycle goes through where my stomach's growling.
Good. All right. So Kate in California says, I've been trying intermittent fasting during the work week for 2.5 weeks now. I'm naturally small and thin. I'm 5'3" at 113 pounds, but wanted to lose some unnecessary weight for the summer. I already am not an unhealthy eater and work out frequently. I fast from 7 p.m. to 12 noon the next day and have been as strict as I can. I've also been trying to work out during my fast instead of my eating hours. My meals are healthy yet filling, and I don't feel like I'm depriving myself or overeating in my eating window. I'm working out more, 8 times per week, to keep my muscle and tone. However, there's so much conflicting information on the internet. I have a lot of water in the morning and allow myself 1 cup of coffee during my fast. This is where I'm confused. If I drink any type of, quote, flavored coffee pod, is my fast broken? Chris always says that you can stay under a specific number of calories and you won't break your fast. Is 1 cup of flavored coffee with a little almond milk really screwing up my intermittent fasting? Also important note that I haven't lost any weight. So she's 5'3" and already 113 pounds. She's saying, but she wants to lose some unnecessary weight for the summer. I mean,
me too.
113 pounds at 5'3" sounds
skinny.
Thin. Yeah, you're super skinny. So I think,
well, if she's working out,
you answer first.
Yeah. So if she's working out that much,
that's an exorbitant amount of time to be working.
Yeah, and
per week.
Yeah, and so she's toning and really I would think that she's gaining some muscle weight there. So that's one reason why she's not going to see necessarily pounds. She should be seeing a tremendous amount of change in her actual body, like thinning and leaning out, because that's a lot of working out and to not be eating. But I wonder but she says she eats clean and she eats pretty healthy. So I don't know.
Well, I will say this. I've seen some people who have made that little change where they have gotten rid of that unsweetened, they got sweetened almond milk.
Yeah.
They started drinking black coffee instead. And, they have just taken that one little change out and they've seen a big difference. So, some people, like I said, they have the coffee with almond milk or coffee with cream and they are losing weight and it's not an issue. But once you say, okay, I'm seeing this is not helping me get to my goals, then I would say, okay, we need to go ahead and maybe take that piece out. And as far as the flavored coffee pods, you need to find out exactly what's in those flavored coffee pods. So, my husband has one of those coffee pods and it's called Sweet and Creamy. It's, that's the name of it. And it has tons of sugar and of artificial sweeteners. And so you don't know how much sugar is actually in there. So my first suggestion would be see if you could get yourself to getting it to black coffee. and to see if you can take yourself to that next level.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think that if she's working out that much, I'd love to see some measurements on her. Measurements are a really good thing. If you can get a friend of yours or a trainer to actually go ahead and measure you and see, and get a pair of pants that, measured, and don't wash them, don't do anything with them. Just keep trying them on and seeing if they change in there as well.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to part 1 of Heather's interview here on the Chantel Ray Way. Now stay tuned for next Thursday to listen to the rest.